Okay, so we're going to start talking about an idea that plays off of what we've been learning this last week with cellular respiration. So, what we're going to start talking about is first, how do you go through and gain weight? So, normally I'd had you guys talk with people at your table, but since we're doing this as an ed puzzle, I want you to take a few minutes and just think by yourself about basically how do you gain weight using the stuff that we've talked about. So how do you gain weight with thinking of like macromolecules and being able to inputs and outputs and what we're doing with those things. So take a second, pause the video if you want, and think about that really fast. Get some ideas. Um, Hopefully, you remember that you're gaining weight because you're eating too much food. Remember, we talked about how all the food that we're eating has different jobs or things. Like we're eating because we need them to do something or those things to do something. We're not just eating to eat. So when our food is consumed, our digestive system breaks them down and we absorb the things that we need. Some of that stuff is going to be used for energy, like our glucose. Some of that stuff is going to help us to grow more cells or to maintain our body, like proteins. And then some of the fat's going to be used to build our cell membranes, or we can actually have fat storages around the body. So we're eating too much because we're consuming more food than what our body needs to take in. Um, when our body consumes more than it needs to take in, if I'm eating more carbs, this happens. If I'm eating more proteins, this happens. No matter what, if I'm eating more than my body can use, it's going to turn into fat. So, obviously, that diagram showed you that typically our fats are the things that are going through and storing into fat. But no matter what, if you're consuming more than what's needed, every single type of macromolecule can be turned into fat. Now, you need to make sure that you understand having fat storage is not something that's bad. It's when you have that stuff in excess that it can start to like put wear on the body. But the average person needs to have some type of fat storage because it's insulating us. Right now, if you were to go outside, or even animals, if they lived in colder environments, they'd want to have some type of stored fat. That way, they're insulating them and helping them stay warm. Um, Also, some of our hormones are made up of fat. So remember, hormones tell our body how to function. If we didn't have some type of fats in there, then our body would not be able to talk to different parts. And then also, it pads the organs. It may not think like a lot, but think of like a swinging monkey, or think about an animal that has to fight one another to find like the dominant male that's going to be able to go through and breed. They all need to have some type of padding for those organs so that way they're not getting hurt when they're going through and doing those different activities. Even us, when you go through and doing different activities, if you don't have some type of padding around those organisms, you can get bruised easier because they're getting damaged. So now let's look at the opposite, or this is kind of going to be where you're focusing is the opposite. So how do you lose weight? And again, take a second, pause, think about it. Um, Hopefully, in order to lose weight, you're thinking of two things. One, you're thinking of going through and exercising, and the other thing is going through and eating a healthier or more balanced meal. Okay. But we need to go through and look at what are both of these things doing for our body? Well, when we go through and eat healthy, we're allowing our body to still get the nutrients that we need. We still need some fats, we still need some carbs, we still need some proteins to allow our body to function and to grow and to maintain and to get energy, but we're not bringing in more food than what our body needs. So we're not getting any more excess storage fat because we're eating a balanced diet. Um, Also, when you work out, you're allowing, we always talked about how we burn off fat and how we burn off calories or since we've been in BioB, we've been talking about this idea of getting rid of or what exercise is doing. We know that if we're exercising, we need to use energy. If we're using energy, we've been talking about that we need to go through and do cellular respiration. So I'm taking in that glucose molecule, that oxygen, rearranging that stuff. And by rearranging, the energy is released, and then I get my outputs of carbon dioxide and water. So literally, by you exercising, you're using energy, or you're using that glucose and to get that energy out. And when that energy comes out, we have carbon dioxide and water that are left as our outputs. When we go through and look at some point, hopefully when you're losing weight, you're going to end up using all of the carbs that are in your bloodstream. And glucose, or the small version of carbs, that's what we've been using for our cellular respiration equation. But when our body runs out of carbs, we can start to use our fats or start to use our proteins as needed in order to get some type of energy out. It's not going to be as much energy as going through and looking at carbs, but you can still go through and use those things to go through some type of cellular respiration. But no matter what macromolecule monomer you use, you're still going to have the outputs of carbon dioxide and water. You're still taking those amino acids, rearranging them to get out carbon dioxide and water. You're still taking the fatty acids and glycerol or your triglycerides, rearranging them to get out carbon dioxide and water. Okay. So obviously your body runs on carbs, but when you're trying to lose weight, you may use up all those carbs in your bloodstream, and you're going to start to use other things to go through a type of cellular respiration. So that takes us to our phenomenon question, which is actually the short answer part of your quiz for this unit. So the question is, what happens to the 250 pounds of matter that the man lost? Where did it go? So you can see in the first picture, he's 403 pounds. You can see in the second picture, he's 188 pounds, or 5 months later. So if this man is losing all this weight, he had to lose matter. And what we need to figure out is, how did he lose matter? Where did that go? We know obviously that this person was exercising to go through and use up all that stored energy, but where did the matter literally go? Okay, so here are 4 options. In your quiz, you will be saying one of these 4 people are correct. Okay, so take a second, pause it, because you're going to take your own guess right now. So Andy is basically saying that you're sweating or urinating out all the weight. Jasmine's saying that you're converting the weight into energy. Isabella's saying that you're pooping out all the weight. And DeMarcus is going through and saying that you're breathing or exhaling out the weight. There's some descriptions to them, but take a second, go through and read them. And then what's going to happen is you're going to basically find information about each of these people or each of these people's idea to try to figure out which one is correct. So you're going to take a guess now, and then you're going to go through and look at the information to try to figure out who do you think is correct. Okay, or I guess either backing up your person is like, if you think Andy's right, you're going to back up using the information from the articles. Why is Andy right? If you think Jasmine's wrong, you're going to use information from the article to back up why is Jasmine wrong. Okay, and I'll show you what that information is right now. So once you finish the questions for the Edpuzzle, which you should have already done by now, you're going to go into Schoology, and there's going to be this article that's here. So this is going to be a reading where you're going to go through and look at information about like what poop is to try to figure out, are we pooping out our extra weight when we're losing weight or that matter? This is going to go through and look at like your poo, pee, or your sweat and your urine. This is going to look at how you're doing your, I guess, carbon dioxide. and then this is your matter and energy one. Okay, so you're going to read the article. You're going to pull at least 3 things from here. There is going to be more than 3 things that are in there, but you're at least going to do 3 things in each one. Again, this will be the short answer of your quiz for this unit. So by going through and reading these articles very carefully and pulling in good information, you'll have more information to write on the short answer part of your quiz. Okay.